Modal verbs. 1. Apart from can and could, they do not have past or future forms, or use any auxiliary verb, e.g. do, did, either to make a question or a negative. Will she be there? I couldn't help it. An exception to this is used to, which often takes did as an alternative auxiliary. Good at maths? Used to be good at maths. 2. Modal verbs, except ought to and used to, take the infinitive without to. They can't have arrived yet. You must have seen her. An alternative to can is be able to, which is used for all tenses. They'll be able to book the ticket soon. It is used as the past simple or conditional of can. An alternative to must is have to, which is used for all tenses. Surely you didn't have to pay. See the study boxes below for differences in meaning of these verbs. Note the short forms will not, won't, shall not, shan't, cannot, can't, and need can be used either as normal verbs. I didn't dare to mention it. He doesn't need to borrow any money. Or as modal verbs, she daren't tell him the truth. You needn't cry. See the study box below for the different uses of need. One. How dare you speak to me like that? 2. He really should admit that he is to blame for the whole affair. 3. When she was younger, she never used to wear makeup. 4. May I see your phone, please? 5. Do you think he'll be able to come up with the money in time? 6. Stelios, possible you might have to pay a heavy fine. 7. The authorities ought to have investigated the incident more thoroughly. 8. There's every likelihood our candidate will win the election. Must or mustn't are used. 8. To express commands or the authority of the speaker. You must do what I say in future. B. To express an internal obligation from the speaker's viewpoint. I mustn't forget to phone Jake this evening. Have got to can be used in all tenses instead of must to express especially rules or laws made by someone else. We've got to check in at least an hour before takeoff. The modal form needn't is usually used to express the speaker's own opinion or viewpoint. You needn't phone me unless there's any problem. Don't need to is less personal and is usually used to express lack of external obligation. If you don't need to have a work permit. Didn't need to do and didn't have to do mean that something was not done, because it was not necessary. Needn't have done means that something was done, although it was not necessary. Shouldn't and ought to oughtn't to are both used. A. To express the idea of duty or strong advice. Should gives the speaker's subjective opinion, whereas ought to is a little more forceful, based on objective considerations. Other uses of should are. B. Instead of would in formal writing, I should be glad to hear from you as soon as possible. C. To convey an assumption. Jane should have arrived at the office by now. D. As a formal or literary alternative to an if clause. Should the star be ill, the concert will be cancelled. To express a remote possibility with an if clause. Ask about it, tell them the truth. And after in case. We'll hide, in case they should see us. E. To make a suggestion or a request for advice. What should I wear to the wedding? F. After so that, in order that, verbs like command, insist, suggest, and adjectives like vital. Necessary, anxious, to show that something must be done. I'm anxious that he should feel at home. Could is used to express general ability in the past. I could read when I was 3. For an achievement on a particular occasion in the past, was able to manage to succeeded in are used instead. How many letters were you able to write last night? Couldn't is used for both general and particular ability. Used to and would about past habits. Used to is used for situations and actions, whereas would only refers to repeated actions. I used to have a guinea pig when I was younger. Lisa would always eat porridge for breakfast.
One, unfortunately my cousin couldn't see his solicitor that day, as no appointment had been made. 2. When I was a child, I would always take the same route to school and back. 3. The boy next door could swim when he was 5, but he never learnt to sail. 4. In the past people used families than they do nowadays. 5. Stephen had to give up halfway round, and couldn't finish the marathon. 6. Despite the thunderstorm, we were able to climb right to the top of the mountain. 7. I sat on the terrace, drinking coffee. From there I could see the vineyards and the olive groves below me. A question tag is composed of an auxiliary verb and a personal pronoun. If there is a modal verb in the main clause, we use this in the question tag. They won't mind, will they? He can swim, can't he? Remember that, will you? Is the usual question tag after a comma we? After a suggestion with let's. One, we can't see him yet, can we? 2. I ought to pay now, oughtn't I? 3. Remember to lock up, will you or won't you? 4. You'd rather wait till next week, wouldn't you? 5. He must be there, mustn't he? 6. It might rain tonight, mightn't. 7. They had to do it, didn't they? 8. Don't tell him about it, will you? 9. Let's have a picnic on the beach, shall we? 10. You love him very much, don't you? 11. I'd better not say anything, had I? 12. We could stay overnight, couldn't we?